Yes, I do keep my starter. I have two starters using different recipes because that's just how I roll, but they are now kept in the refrigerator, but I did not start them in the refrigerator. They began their life on the counter. More specifically, started them in the oven, didn't get any action. They got their most rises and peaks hanging out in the microwave. So they stayed out in the microwave for almost 40 days before I then had them go hibernate in the refrigerator. Personally, I waited that length of time because I wanted them to become established and active, and I knew were successful and had their rises and their peaks and their falls, and it wasn't false rises, and they were, bubbly and all that good stuff you're looking for in a starter. I wanted that to be happening consistently before I let them hibernate. Whether you have to do that, I don't know. I asked in a bunch of Facebook groups, and some people said, no, you don't. Other people said, the longer you leave them out before we're putting them in the refrigerator, the better. So my answer is, you can put it in the refrigerator whenever you feel it's best. Now, it is possible to always keep them out on the countertop. As for the mold, what I have learned while lurking in groups and reading things are a couple different reasons there might be mold, and I experienced mold once. My personal experience was because I didn't have a good lid. You don't want a lid that's going to be sealed too tight because then you'll get like gases. So you want a lid that rests but is flush. And I was using saran wrap and a rubber band because I didn't have anything and I was too anxious to start. And 2 days later I got mold. So it was too exposed to the elements. So that could be a reason for mold if you don't have a good lid. And then other people have found if their flour had traces of mold that they were using, that's going to lead to a moldy starter. And if your starter isn't strong enough yet and doesn't have a good balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria, and the bad bacteria is too overwhelming, you're gonna get mold. And that's most likely when your starter is still a baby and not, a grown-up. And then, and this is scary, and I'm like, is if you have mold in your house, the mold spores in the air could get into your starter. So for people who consistently are getting moldy starters, no matter what they're doing, they're being advised to make sure their house doesn't have mold. I can't imagine using your starter as the sign that your house has mold, but I guess it happens. It has happened, and I guess it's good to know. I just wish there was some ignorance is bliss there, but that could be a reason as well. And lastly, the mold can happen if you are just leaving it out on the counter and not feeding it, and you're just letting it like hang out, getting no attention because you're forgetting or whatever. And I'm saying you generally, I'm not accusing you, but if a person doesn't like feed it and do what they need to do to keep it alive, it can get mold. I also want to say to make sure it is mold and it's not hooch. And I'll try to insert a picture of what hooch is. And it's kind of like a little separation on the top of your starter, and it's grayish. And some people might think that's mold, but it's not. There's a lot of scientificness that goes into what is producing the hooch, but it's nothing bad. It's just something that's occurring. I'm not going to pretend I know, and there's so much out there on it. But some people either like pour it out, like skim it off, like you're skimming off like fat, or they mix it in to their starter. And I mix mine in. I even get that hooch in the refrigerator with the discard and the starters, and I just stir it in, and I've seen no problems. And some people consider it like a liquid gold when it happens. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But do make sure that it's not hooch that is happening and that it's mold. So yeah, that's the story. But yeah, you can totally refrigerate your starter. And that's what I do. I made like bread machine sourdough. It's doing its thing. And I put the starters back in the fridge until my next adventure with them. So yeah, I hope that helps. I'm sorry, I am not an encyclopedia of information. There's just so much out there, and usually I love absorbing and spouting this information, but it is hard for me to absorb, and I don't know if it's age or topic or a little bit of both. I don't know, but I hope this helped. Bye.